December 20th meeting of the town board of the town of Unionville. If you would please stand, join me in saluting the flag.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Before you sit down, if we could please have a moment of silence for that 47-year-old policeman, Fishkill, who died on Monday evening on due to the accident on the Taconic. Daniel did not tell him. 47. Thank you very much. Before you sit, though, I'd ask for one more. Just a round of applause for our county executive, who was only in there for 1 year, Bill O'Neill, but he is finishing up and after almost 20 years of service to Dutchess County. And he said his public service was one of the best things that ever happened in his whole life. And man, it was around that long, should be commended. So let's give a hand to Bill O'Neill. Thank you very much. Years. First order of business is to approve the minutes. Now we have minutes for the December 6th work session. November 15th meeting minutes will be delivered via email this week and approved next month. So may I have a motion to approve December 6th, please?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right. Let's move it through. Short, sweet, and excellent. Next up is the supervisor's report. I'm going to go through a few things tonight. Fortunately, we don't have all of our financials finished because our bank statements for the first time ever did not arrive. And we don't know why, but Millbrook has a new system that they changed to. So as a result, things are, I guess, are a little bit different. But there's a few things I want to go over with the board members and make sure everybody's aware. So it looks like as of the email I got today that all of our work at FEMA is finished. So I have to sign off on one more report and then they're very good and all will be waiting. And this is the FEMA work that's been going on since July. It's better than last year with the Hurricane Ida, which took almost a year, but this was just in July. We're finished already, so it's 6 months. But that is, they will let us know what we qualify for, and that is very important to us because we will get reimbursed for the road work you did and all the supplies you have to buy. But the big thing is that Westlow Mountain Bridge, and that range that you and Tom Harvey, our engineer, came up with was about 364 at the low end to 680 or something.
Right.
So we've got to wait and hear from them, but that would be a wonderful thing if they would go up with the, I guess, the 680, where the, what is it, a 500, are we up to a 500-year storm or is it a 100-year storm? 100-year storm. So if they'll meet that criteria, that would be a blessing for the town. So anyway, that's in the works. That will be sewn up. I just have to sign off on one thing. No word on the salt shed grant. I was hoping we get some word, but everybody can be on the lookout. I think that salt shed, that WQIP grant, it sounds like the announcements come from the governor's office. So everybody will hear about it at the same time. I think she sends out a PR, a press release so that everybody will know. But if you see Unionville's name on there, that would be very good news. Then we'll get a new salt shed, we hope. The other things I've been working on this month was, as you heard in the last town board meeting, the cell tower that we tried to install in 2019 in our parkland that was across the line in the town of Beekman, but on acreage that, part of time we're part of, was recently approved the second time. We got served with an Article 78 in Beekman that stalled the first go round. Then when they lost that, they appealed it. And when they just recently lost that, it took a long time because of COVID. So what we've been working on now is we signed all the paperwork, sent that back to the company that represents Verizon, who wants to be in that spot to solve the dead zone on 55. And then, of course, to help with all the other dead zones and the emergency response. I know from your perspective, John, that's really important, and from everybody else's.
Yeah, even in the park here, this part of town, the limited service affects, if there's a large crowd in the park, their phones are not very effective.
Right.
It overwhelms the tower that's serving.
When you're back there, if you're even hiking around, you know that you have trouble. So
Mhm.
it'll also help us in this with our summer camp and the counselors and them being farther away if there's an emergency or something. So we're very excited about it, that it's moving forward. The next step would be to go through the parkland alienation process with the Senate and the Assembly, which at this point is going to be just a kind of a rubber stamp because we've never taken out any loans for our park. You know, they really scrutinize parks that have gotten state or federal grants, and we've obviously never had that. The whole park was donated to UBL, so that's a very good situation. And then after that, it's waiting for the local government committee to pass it through, and then the governor to sign off on it. So we don't know, the next 6 months.
We did get handicap access money passed, though. Will that be a factor?
No,
Grant money? No?
no, it's to buy the land and stuff.
Oh, to buy land, okay.
Yeah, no, not for the, like the sand grant down there. No.
Okay.
No, none of that. It's just to acquire land. I guess years ago, there were problems. People would get a user grant, acquire land, and somehow or another sell it to somebody who gave them a lot more money for it. So they obviously don't want that to happen. The other thing is the MS4, which is that stormwater management program that the state has, you know, and it's a smart program, but a lot of the things that the state requires us to do in this MS4 program are already required in our town code. So the highway department does a good job, the parks department, we test all the water, we do all the things we're supposed to do. George tracks all the construction work and everything. So when the last census came out, because it's quite expensive every year to go through MS4 and to do the things that we're required to do, and we have to do that anyway, since it's consistent with the code. When our census numbers went down last year, we changed some of the urbanized zones. We sent them a letter requesting a waiver from the program. So it was 3 months on Friday. I hadn't heard word one since we submitted our census numbers, the urbanized zones and the MS4 requesting that we get a waiver to get out since everything is consistent with our town code anyway. And they wrote me back saying that they just finished working on a new permit for MS4 and they would start to look at it now. So if, you know, even though, you know, I think they're shorthanded too, like everybody else. But anyway, that MS4 program, since we follow those rules anyway, if we could get out from under that burden, that would save us, you know, some money, which would be
Sure.
great. So we're hopeful that when they finish reviewing it, that would come out. The next thing that is the dam, before I talk about some financials and things. So we're out of luck last year doing the boring test because of the drought. When we had the drought, the company didn't show up month after month after month that the engineer arranged. This year was way too much water. The water table was too high. It would have been $100,000 or $150,000 for us to try to drain it and then have it rain again. So we didn't go to the expense and we're biding our time. I did speak with the engineer again last week, and the dam does need to be dealt with. And we have to make a decision. We can either wait for the next boring test, because if you want to reconstruct the dam, you're going to need the boring test to do that. You can wait and do the boring test when the water table is low, and then have the company come. There's one company apparently that they all use, even the county uses, that has the size for our dam. And they'll come in and they'll do the boring test, and then you can line up all the decisions. Do you want to reconstruct? This is a resident decision. Do you want to reconstruct? Now we know approximately what it might cost given the results of the boring test. Or do you want to eliminate the dam or bring it down? And then do some special landscaping and make the place look beautiful and still hikeable, but not have the dam. So those are going to be the two choices. And till the water table goes down, unless somebody wants to set up a survey or, have talked to the residents about making that choice now, I think in order to know about construction, you got to wait for the boring test.
Mhm.
So that's coming up, but those things have to be done. And the engineer went through all that with us again recently, in a telephone call and an email, but anyway, it's coming. So the next thing up would be the financials that you all have here. The rest of them we don't have. We're not going to probably have them until tomorrow because the statements have just come in this afternoon. So, but I'll email them to you, the ones we usually go over. So basically, what we're going to talk about at the end of the meeting are the budget transfers. So this time every year we go through and we look at any lines, like we overspent in, if we overspent on the legal line and we underspent on the engineering line, we usually transfer $1 from one to the other to make them all true up. So we're going to go through all of those at the end of the meeting. But we are on track right now. Now, remember, all these numbers change. We get a lot of bills, that come in at the end of the year, and we have some accruals that haven't been posted yet, from mortgage tax and that sort of. So, but we're up 762,000 to pay the rest of the bills, which is a good thing. And, this week, we also got a check for chips for Mr. Kading's area, $232,996.57. So that check came in. One of the other things I wanted to go over was, we got our check from Comp Alliance, which we don't always get. But do you remember, we've had these before, and I'm going to talk about, that in just a minute. But Comp Alliance is our workers' comp company. And they are pleased to announce that the town of Unionville is qualified for the Comp Alliance Safe Workplace Award for the performance during the policy year of 2022. They was wait. The enclosed award check signifies the town of Unionville's commitment to minimizing workplace accidents and keeping its employees healthy and safe. It's a monetary award that benefits Comp Alliance members, who have had a positive loss experience during a given year. All right, since its inception 4 years ago, we have awarded more than $3.7 million to our municipal and school members. So we got a check for $2,064.
Oh, very good.
Which is really great. And it's not guaranteed every year, but it's a good thing. And I wanted to talk tonight a little bit, pass that to Kevin. And Ed. And here is for Kevin. Here you go, Councilman. So one of the things I want to make sure that, and I think, this is my last meeting, so there's a couple of things I want to make sure is clear to everybody. One of them, this workers' comp award reminded me. So there was 6 months ago, I know that even the Conservative Party was quite confused about how we were handling our workers' comp. They had heard from some people that we had created a big hubbub with Dutchess County about workers' comp and cost the taxpayers money. And I thought, wow, there goes a group of people who really didn't understand the situation. And I think one of the few people, the only person in the county legislature that understood the situation was Alan Sermon, who stood by our side, did a wonderful job. It all ended up working out in the wash, but I want to make sure people understand that one of the jobs of the people in this board is to fight for Unionville when we're getting pushed around. And because of our size, I think when I first got here, I thought we got pushed around an awful lot, and I still feel that way from certain entities. So it's not people aren't intentionally, they just don't care. They're just not thinking about us. They have bigger fish to fry in Poughkeepsie or wherever. So we have to protect ourselves. But we were criticized about the workers' comp, so I want to make sure it's clear to everybody, especially when we got this award. And none of these awards we've received are in these numbers. But in 2018, 6 months after I got here, Dutchess County approached us and said, your $15,400 a year that you pay in workers' comp premiums is going up to $75,000 a year. And I'm sitting there in 2018 going, wow, how are we going to afford that? 75,000. So our premiums were going up to 75. And that was it. They gave us no choice. And so our premiums that year were going up 374%. And the problem we had was that there were two cases that were open, 2 cases that were open. So we, along with 4 other towns, wanted to get out of the program. These other towns that were in the program had no cases, no, open issues with workers' comp and Albany. We had to. But we were looking at this thing, and we still thought it was a good idea to get out, because going from $15,400 to $74,000 a year is a big jump. So anyway, we decided to get out, and to get out is quite complicated. You have to pass a resolution, you have to do it on the exact right date, or you can't get out, that sort of thing. When we decided to get out, the county told us that the actuary had calculated that our bill, based on those 2 open cases, that we'd have to pay the county was $376,000. Because actuarially, they calculated that these 2 people could have claims every month for the rest of their lives, and that's how much it might cost. And we told them they were crazy, and that actuarially could be refuted. They dropped it down to $176,000. So we decided to fight them on that. Alan Sermon was a great help for us and tried very hard in the legislature. The legislature everybody else allowed the county to hire legal counsel to fight us. So we had to fight them. And then we ultimately wanted, because their attorney decided that they were recalcitrant, is what they told us. So we went to mediation, which is what we'd asked them for to begin. So the legal bills were pretty short term, but we did go to mediation. It's good. So anyway, the bottom line is that I think we all should understand that it's important to stick to your guns and really do your homework, because the way the numbers work out, when you calculate what happened, had we been paying them 74,000, and they may have gone up because, you know, premiums have a chance to go up. We now have done such a good job because we're in a company, we're in Comp Alliance where there's over 300 towns we're sharing premiums with versus 13 at that point that were in the county program. So clearly you'd be hit by losses more. But basically at the end of the day, at the end of through 2024, by the way, our premiums have gone down from, they were started at 49, 45, and they went down this in 2024, they're going down to 36,000 because of, you know, good habits with our workers' comp. So in other words, since 2018, having gotten out of the program, having paid $90,000 to the county instead of 176, just to let them, by the way, none of those two people made any claims. So the county did pretty well on that too. But after all that, we saved the taxpayers $179,151.13. So it was a good move. I'm very glad we did it. I think the board was very proud to have done it. It was painful to go against the county, but it ended up, they made a little money and we did fine. We saved ourselves a lot of money, almost 180,000. So those kinds of things are very important with the town. And the only other thing, you know, we, and some of the board members, you know, we've been talking about this, and it's important that we recognize that we've rearranged things here. We don't really have a very fluffy budget. And when we went back and looked at the numbers from 2010 to 2014, there was a negative cash flow for each one of those years in the town of Unionville. And then in the town of 2015, the taxes went up through the tax cap, and the town was positive that year at $43,000. And then in 2016 and 17, things were starting to turn around. They also realized a bond payment, which helped, it made, you know, came in as revenue, so to speak, and it made us look good. And so, I mean, I think that you have to recognize, and then, so since 2018, for the last 6 years, we have been in the positive. We have run positively in net income every single year. We've never had a negative year. And I think given that started in 2016, we've continued to build up our fund balance to about $4 million. And the board and I, we've been talking about how important it is to stay on that trend. You know, work with the managers to watch their expenses. It's not just writing a budget. Writing a budget isn't really hard. It's just managing it every month to stay within the line. So those are some important things that we got done in the last 6 years. And I think everybody's proud that we were, you know, in the black every single year. And we, all the managers are proud when they do that, and everybody's pleased that they kind of look at the town in a slightly different way, which is great. So those are my financial, aren't you glad we didn't get the rest of those reports in? I'll be going through all of them. And then last up, I have a correspondence. Let me just get my papers in order or something, you know. I have a correspondence, and then I will turn this over to the board members. So I got an email this week. Dear Supervisor Moss, I understand an issue has been raised about the rental obligation of the town for the new library. The Unionville Library Fund, a qualified 501c3, has sufficient funds to pay the obligation, which I understand is $1 per year for 99 years. The library fund is prepared to pay this amount, so no public funds will be required to meet this obligation. On a personal note, while I was very young, my parents were friends of the Connors. Because of the history of Time War, having been the home of Mark Twain's publisher, I believe Unionville should not be the only town in Dutchess County without a library. Mark Twain said it best: a public library is the most enduring of memorials, the trustiest monument for the preservation of an event or a name or an affection. For it and it only is respected by wars and revolutions and survives them. Signed, Peter Coolidge, president of the Unionville Library. So that was nice, Peter, to do that. Here's a copy if you want that.
Sure.
Pass that around. All right, next up, board member reports. Councilman McGivney, you want to start there?
With the upcoming holidays, I'd just like to remind everybody to keep less fortunate in your mind, maybe make a donation to a local food pantry. That's all I got. Happy holidays, everybody.
Thank you,
Very
you
good.
too. Councilman Derlin?
We've all been busy trying to finish out our year-end stuff. Obviously with the switching of supervisor, make sure that we're all buttoned up and tidy
Yeah.
for the next year coming up. So, on behalf of myself, I want to thank Betsy, of course, for doing a really nice job. I think she just laid it out nicely by just kind of going over some of those financials for the last, 6 years. During your tenure, you really did a good job making sure this town stayed on course. Congratulations to you.
Thank you.
And thank you.
It's a pleasure. Councilman Welsh?
I've been reviewing the budget in detail that we passed last month, just so I'm quite familiar with it for the upcoming year, so I can see that we're keeping in line with it, as you mentioned. Writing a budget is one thing, following it is another. And also, we had extensive interviews recently for a vacancy that we want to address. So
Yep, those were very good. Those people were terrific. All right, Town Highway Superintendent Report. Mr. Kading.
First and foremost, Betsy, thank you for helping me get through these 4 years. Don't know that I'd have done it without your guidance and help. Appreciate it. Thank you.
My pleasure. We had fun, right?
Yes. Wasn't.
You threatened me.
Okay, as we all know, we had quite a storm, this past weekend. We had many trees down. I'm sure everybody has noticed, driving on the roads, sides of the roads are saturated. We are getting, it's called bleeding. It's excess rainwater that's now coming up through the road surfaces, turning into black ice. We're doing our due diligence to treat those areas. Issue that we are finding throughout the town are a lot of driveways, especially dirt driveways, seem to be pumping water up through the driveways. It's running down the driveways into the road surfaces, also creating black ice and ice issues. I was on North Smith last evening. It's pretty treacherous. One driveway, it took me less than 3 minutes to rectify the problem, walked up the driveway with my shovel and dug a trench from me to you about 3 inches deep, and it alleviated the problem. So if the residents see issues like this, take a minute, look at it, and they can do a lot of that kind of stuff themselves. There's pipes and driveways that people don't maintain. Those pipes overflow into the road. This time here it creates a hazard. I don't think anybody wants it on their conscience that because they didn't take the extra little effort and some poor family crashes into a tree or whatever. I don't think anybody wants it on their conscience. So again, as always, you see something like that, call, let me know so I can take care of it. We had a few roads flood out. These storms are not what the roads are designed to take. So our hands are pretty much tied. We're trying our best to rectify what we can afford to rectify, but it is a major issue. At some point, we've got to figure out a new way to address it. The board has my 5-year plan in front of them. I'd like to, we need to go through it, but I'd like the board to take a look and, your thoughts, comments. It's a pretty good plan. If you notice, there are 2 roads on here that were not resurfaced last year that I do want to oil and chip because they're starting to call alligator cracking. So we'll oil and chip those to seal them, try to preserve them for a few more years at lesser expense than actually resurfacing. That would be Highview and Cooper Drive. So got that.
No, I was wondering about Brush Hill.
Sorry,
Brush Hill,
Brush Hill.
that's the paving.
Right, that's
And-
just a
and oil and-
small section.
Yeah.
Brush Hill needs.
Shut, okay.
quarter mile.
Did you do? Was it Brush Hill? No, Brush Hill wasn't touched last year.
down the bottom.
No, this is over the top.
Oh, the top part, yeah.
Yeah, they did some major work on it that, they don't measure. Set up for 10 or 12 years. Should have lasted. longer.
I would say.
Yeah, and also there's gonna be a lot of construction on that road this coming year.
I hope not.
Yeah, the planning board has
Or just, all right.
a extensive subdivision plan,
Subdivision on Brush Hill.
multiple lots, right?
Brush Hill,
Is it-
so Bonavini is over on, Knox. Clap Hill. Oh, is that one,
Where's the actual?
there was that one family, I think it's a one-family home, isn't it?
Oh, is that all it is? I just saw
Yeah.
the map. I didn't really.
Oh, the map, oh, no, the map was the one on, Knox and John. That what, you probably didn't say.
Oh, there's one here for Brush Hill the other day.
Yeah, but I think it was consolidation.
That's the one out.
Consolidation of 3 lots.
There's
isn't
three
it?
Consolidation, all right.
Yeah, that's-
I didn't really scrutinize it because it's
Brush
planning
Hill
on,
and-
okay,
and Camp.
all right.
And you know what's going on.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Yeah.
he's already familiar,
There is another house site going down midway up Brush Hill.
right?
Yeah.
So,
That's-
Ed, on behalf of the residents,
Yes.
so we have, what we'll do is we'll put maybe on the highway section of the website, we'll put the last 5 years. We have that, and then we'll put this, and you obviously reserve the right to change this whenever you need to. But you've been all over these roads numerous times. I'm wondering if somebody wonders how that road gets on there and not their road, could you explain what criteria you use to put them on that list?
Right now.
Well, no, you can,
On camera. That's what.
I think you know all the stuff at the tip of your tongue, but if you want to study up.
Basically, I drive the roads.
Yeah.
And there's a couple of criteria that I use. The most important one is the population of the road and how much it's traveled. And then the condition of the road. And the condition of these roads, and especially I'm afraid for this year, like I mentioned earlier on, with the water coming up through the asphalt, if we go into a major freeze and thaw cycle, that breaks the asphalt up. So we may be actually having to adjust this in the spring to address roads that are in worse shape than the ones that have scheduled for resurfacing. So, I mean, it's a lot of variables, but
Right.
that's basically what I look at is the condition of the road, the population on the road, and how much the road's traveled. And the third, how much the road is traveled is basically a wild guess as if that's a through road to a like acre road, then I know it's gonna be traveled more than, say, a road like Highview, which is just a move around, it doesn't, just go back around, so it's not traveled as much, but it's traveled by the residents.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the criteria I use. So, but the
really
major
helpful.
thing is the condition of,
Yeah, it's really helpful for people,
Yeah.
they're not
Yeah.
sure.
It's a good way of doing it.
so,
That's great.
we had our annual bid reading, last week, I believe it was. And, we're gonna just accept all bids like we have in the past. I was a little disappointed, we didn't have more vendors giving us bids. They were very limited, for whatever reason. But, so we're just gonna accept all bids. Those, best value for it. Like we have.
All right, we're gonna need a motion. We have a motion to accept all bids for the recommendation of the highway superintendent, please.
I'll make that motion.
All right, is there a second?
I'll second.
All right, all in favor of accepting all bids for the highway bid comparison for 2023, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye, all any negative? Nope. All right, motion carries. So we will post that as well, Ed.
Pretty much all I have.
That's it. It's a lot. Thank you for taking care of everything. I told the county that we had, no permanent damage, that everything, the water receded and you were in pretty good shape.
Did lose a lot of trees.
A lot more trees.
Well, thanks for getting them out off the road so fast.
I need people to let me know when there's issues.
So do you prefer that people call and leave a message on the machine at the highway department? Call your cell
Call the cell
phone?
number.
Call the cell number. So when people
That's
see
the
down
fastest
trees.
reaction is cell.
Yeah, it's got, okay. So as long as people know that.
Yeah.
Sometimes they call here, we keep it in a log and then we text it to you.
Yeah.
So this can work too, but I think
Oh, yeah.
going to you direct is perfect.
Right.
All right, thank you so much. Appreciate it. All right, next up, we have town clerk reports. Tracy, thank you.
So as the board is aware, we received a petition regarding the permissive referendum for the library lease last Wednesday. Upon receiving it, we contacted an attorney and expert in the field to help me validate the petition to make sure that it was in good order. And this was the letter that was received yesterday from this attorney. Dear Supervisor Moth and town board members, we have been asked to review the petition filed with the town clerk requesting permissive referendum on the expenditure of town funds and the approval of a lease for the purposes of the Unionville Town Library. The cover sheet and each page of the subject petition carries the following language. Quote, on November 15th, 2023, the town board of the town of Unionville approved and passed a resolution, approving the lease for the Unionville Public Library, Resolution 33-2023, subject to a permissive referendum. Spending town funds for the lease. I do not agree with the action taken by the Unionville Town Board approving the proposed library lease and spending of any town money for the Unionville Public Library, end quote. We are advised that since the passage of this subject resolution, a third party has agreed to absorb the lease payments on behalf of the town. This change in the terms of the past resolution is to go before the town board for adoption at the meeting to be held on December 20th, 2023. Should the measure pass, this would be a material change to the terms of the resolution. As you are no doubt aware, the expenditure of town funds is subject to permissive referendum. See Town Law, Section 91. Here, however, any action taken to relieve the town of financial responsibility for the lease payments fundamentally changes the resolution for which the petition requesting a permissive referendum was circulated and filed. In the matter of Merlin Entertainments Group, 2018, the appellate division held in reserving the decision of the Dutchess County Supreme Court that analogizing the requirements for a petition under the election law, this court held that the word petition in Town Law Section 91 means a statement of purpose followed by the authenticated signatures of those seeking to advance that purpose, end quote, matter of McCoon. Since the purpose for which the signatories place their signatures on the petition sheets could not be determined from the petition sheets themselves, this court held that the subject petition sheets were invalid. Merlin. Here, the petition has two specific acts that it seeks to have put to the voters for approval. They are A, the approval of the lease, and 2, the expenditure of town funds. Where one of the express purposes is mooted by the fact that a third party will be paying for the lease and no town funds will be expended, it becomes impossible to discern whether the electors would have signed the petition because one of the other of the two reasons for their opposition had been removed. Accordingly, we recommended that this petition be set aside as invalid and not applicable to any act which effectively eliminates the expenditure of town monies for the lease. Further, it appears that the language of the petition is not concise and therefore not informative to the public of the exact issue to be brought to a vote, as it fails to inform the public of the amount of town funds to be expended. The level of spending on a given project is integral to the question put to the electorate. The several cases we have reviewed routinely see the value of spending, bonding, or financial commitment that the municipality is taking on stated or explained. The public has the right to know if they are voting or approving spending of $5 or $5 million. The level of spending / debt / financial obligation defines the question being put to a vote. This petition says nothing. The issues also point the invalidity of the referendum petition. If there are questions regarding this matter, he offered his contact information. After receiving the letter and reviewing it, I felt comfortable that he answered all my questions in the validation process.
Anything else to report?
Secondly, the 2024 recycling passes, as you probably already know, are on sale. The prices are all the same from last year. You can buy them online, in person at the recycling center and have it mailed, or you can buy it in person at town hall. And that's all I have.
Good, thank you very much. Okay, public comments on agenda items? Yes, would you mind going to the podium, speaking into the microphone?
Okay, am I all right with that now? Is it on?
I think so. Andrew's gonna go
Okay.
check.
Okay, I understand. I figured that would happen with the petition as soon as it was said that Peter is going to pay for it for 99 years. However, Betsy Moss sent an email to me and I would like to share part of this page with you. Dear residents of Unionville who are on Karina Kelly's email list, it is unclear to me and other board members why Karina Kelly, Jean Moore, and Alfreda Tillman are still fighting the library's progress in light of everything that has been done. This is a quote from her letter. The other libraries, mostly Beekman, seem to worry about money, our money, more than anyone else in this town does. Residents in this town know that our board, my board, has been extremely fiscally prudent, and when we say we can afford a library, we can afford a library. Unquote. Her email then continues for a total of 5 pages in a way that disparages us, makes false accusations against us during the rest of her
Why don't you
diatribe.
read the letter instead of editorializing?
Because I wouldn't be able to do it in 3 minutes.
We'll extend the
I
time.
will be happy to send the email to the minutes. of
Well, I
the
wouldn't
meeting.
disparage unless you can quote.
Her
it.
email then continues for a total of 5 pages, as I said, in a way that disparages us and makes false accusations against us during the rest of her diatribe.
That is not
First
true.
of all, the town board is the town board, not Betsy's board. Even though most times some of them seem to act like they are her board. Secondly, Elfrida, Karina, and I are still fighting the library's progress because we believe the majority of our residents like using the library that is closest to them, whether it is Millbrook, Dover, LaGrange, or Beekman, and do not want to incur the expense of renovating the barn at Time Warp for a town library. Especially since most of us believe the projected estimates are lower than the actual cost will be, since we only have the estimate of the architect and a consultant paid by the town, but no engineering estimates to see if the second floor is even strong enough to support the books, tables, chairs, computers, etc., needed to supply a library and internet cafe. Thirdly, we believe the vote that was held did not reflect the true feelings of a majority of our residents because 1, we did not get our information out soon enough, and many people had already voted. 2, the language of the proposition was written in legalese that was confusing. 3, Betsy sent out a last-minute mailing to voters that contained false and incorrect information because she wants a Unionville library, so the proposition failed by only 168 votes. And now we believe we have a new supervisor because the Unionville voters do not want to have a library at Time. For an example of her false information is the fact that she wanted to base the fee the town pays on the number of Unionville library cards. That is illegal. The direct access plan 90.3 says a public library card shall be, quote, issued at no cost to the individual. Therefore, it seems logical that it should not be used as a basis for the usage fee our town pays the Mid-Hudson Library Service for using the other libraries in our system. I would like to say more. I would like to read the whole letter that you wrote, but my 3 minutes are up. I'd just like to request that either Eileen or Ed be put on the town board since they got the 3rd and 4th most votes in the last election. Thank you.
So I'm going to say this one time because this is my last meeting and I want every one of you to listen to this. The American Library Association, the library development group up in Albany, suggested to us when we said, how should we pay our fellow towns, our community, for the library services that we receive? And they said, you pick a metric and write them a check. I said, oh, okay, that sounds easy enough. What do you suggest? And they both said, the ALA and the library development people said, library cards. Ask them how many cards that they have of your residents that were opened in their library, because you wouldn't open one in Millbrook and one in Beekman. You'd open one as a home library and write them the check every January for the amount of cards you have. So our library steering committee agreed with that, thought that was a great idea, and they recommended that to the town board. That is what we recommended to those outside libraries. We are not asking anybody to do anything that we weren't told was the best way to do it. Now, across the river in Accord, there is a supervisor over there. We have 4,558 people. In Accord, they have 7,700. In Accord, I called that supervisor and I said, oh, I found out that you're not served by a library. How do you handle it? He goes, I pay the library directors every January. how much do you pay for your 7,700 people? He said, I pay however many cards she tells me we have. And I said, so approximately how much are you paying? And he said, well, we're paying a little bit more because we straddle two systems. We pay 13,000 to that library and we pay 13,000 to the other library. We're paying $26,000. And I said, but you have 7,700 people. And he says, well, we only have so many library cards. Every January, she tells me how many we have. We write them a check. I said, well, that's what we're trying to do. And he said, well, how much do they want you to pay? I don't know, 70, I said 79,080. He said, are you out of your mind? How many taxpayers can do that? You should have your own library for that kind of money. And I said, well, that's probably where it's going to go because they keep wanting us to go to 125, 200, 250. That is what happened. All right. We would love and had loved for many years to pay for usage. They told us no. It is not against the law. That is the way the American Library recommends that it is done. Now we need to stop talking about it because somebody's misrepresented. That's what they told us. That would have been the easiest way to go. They won't let us. They never let us. So please understand, we're not trying to pull the wool over anybody's eyes. We're trying not to commit financial malfeasance. We know that in the end, they said you're paying as much as our people are paying. Well, people pay a lot of money. I mean, they're $300,000 and $400,000 going out. There are a lot of money going out from these various towns. Your property tax determines how much you're going to pay. It's not a per capita amount. In Beekman, there are people paying $250 for library on their library tax because it depends on the assessed value of your house. So we were trying to contain that better and show our residents a better path for 5 years down the road, 10 years down the road. And guess what? You get a lot of free stuff when you have your own library. And we can have a small, cute, adorable library. We can afford it if we get donations to pay for the renovation. So could we please stop arguing about this? We're just trying to do the best for the town. Jean, you had your turn. Stop. Next up. Okay, next up, I just want to say we need to stop fighting. That's all I'm trying to say. All right, next up. Unionville Library. Oh, we have a great subject. Amy Watkins, can you join us, please? Sorry about that lead in, Amy. Would you mind going over there? Yeah, sorry, I forgot you were up next. Thank you for being here. Happy holidays. Yes,
Right. So everybody take a deep breath.
yes,
I think it's important to know that we can,
yes, I do come in peace.
I think, despite the negativity that has been shared, I'm still aghast by the negativity surrounded by our community having a library. And while I don't have all the answers, and I would never pretend that I do have the commitment and the dedication and a desire to provide our community and its residents a location for us to have community events that aren't just outdoors. We don't have a center of town. And when I attended the focus groups and I read through all the focus group information, that was a thread that ran through it. So while any one of us could go to LaGrange or could go to Beacon, or could go to Millbrook and still could, this will not stop that. The amount of expense that this is going to cost has yet to be like the astronomical amount that everybody says. And currently it's a finite number within the budget for books. So I would hope that our board, which is in the infancy stage, and I do have updates on the development of our charter, that we could take pause before we draw back our arrows and know that we work together and we come in peace. So with that, we have, in good news, since our last meeting, submitted our charter to the Division of Library of Development. So we are now in that holding phase. Anybody that's ever dealt with New York State knows nothing comes quickly. So we are doing that. So in addition to that, like I said, so much happened. So sadly, we have lost our library director. She resigned. And after just a few minutes of that, you could probably understand why. She, to use her own words, didn't realize how political it was going to be to serve as a library director for our town. And that's sad. Unfortunately, she's early in her career and she was warned, not by any of the library board, we adored her. She was warned that serving as our library director wouldn't be good for her for the long term of her career. I don't know who warned her. I have thoughts, but those are just the thoughts. But that's sad because that's a reflection of our town, and I don't think that's really a reflection of the individuals that live in this town. That said, kudos again to our library board, who live up to the oath that they took to serve as volunteers for this. And if you polled all of us, we would all say we really weren't, we didn't care either way if we had a library, you know? And now we're gonna die on the hill, right? Like, so we just, we're resilient, we're dedicated, and we've moved on from the hurdles, and I really will call them hurdles. I wasn't an athlete, so it's been messy. We have found a new director, so our charter can continue. We are currently reviewing applications for a community engagement position, which would be someone who would serve to communicate with our community, to engage and to figure out what kind of programming residents would like. When I've reached out to local libraries and spoken to their library board presidents, the message has been, and you've heard me now 3-4 times say this, not to compete, but to complement the services that are in our area. So if Time Warner Park can only offer 1 day for our senior citizens, but Beekman offers 1 day, Millbrook offers 1 day, it would be great that they're not all the same day, so that our seniors can have multiple locations that they can interact with others. And that's what we're looking for. If Mommy and Me is on Mondays, then we wouldn't do it on Mondays. We would have a separate day so that we have multiple places to serve multiple members. We wouldn't shut out other communities as though Unionville members have been shut out. We feel that in speaking specifically to Beekman, because that name came up to us, the library board president, Bitsy, and I had a lovely conversation. She had wonderful suggestions, and I was pleasantly surprised. She wished us well. She wished us well, and she wished us success. And she actually spoke about Steve, and that Steve was very excited as our incoming supervisor to hear that we were going to have a library. That brought me great pleasure to hear that Mr. Fraser is in support of the library. And coming from someone in Beekman, who I was very open and honest with her and said, I heard you hated our library. And she was like, oh no, I would never. And I said, I hope not. As a fellow educator, that would hurt me to hear that someone isn't supporting literacy in our community. In addition, she did share that she didn't understand why we couldn't use their library. And I respectfully explained a few things, such as Ralph Connor's wish that a library be built in Kenmore Park. And I also explained that our town residents deserve the same thing their town residents deserve. A town center, a place to go to identify, so that when you are doing something locally, you can be proud to say, like, I have a library in my community. Unionville residents, as I said, in the focus group, shared their desire for a town center, a common area. And I feel that it's much beyond a group of books or Libby and electronic resources. It's really about the ability to come together over programming and seeing what's out there. And it's not one person designing programming, it's our community coming together to really share what your interests and needs are and building that to mirror with those. So I apologize for the negativity around the library. I apologize for any contribution that being a member of the board has brought angst upon any of you, but I can only tell you that it was with great pride that we serve on the board and that we hope to come to a place where we can all live in harmony and not be against this. Any questions? No. Thank you for the opportunity, and thank you, Betsy, for putting the library board together. I couldn't have picked a better group of people to serve with. And thank you for your hard work. Thank you.
Okay, departmental reports. Councilman Derlin, want to be Parks?
Sure. The work on number 2 Time Warner Park Road is finished with the replacement of a broken furnace and the repair of broken cast iron waste pipe. Thank you to the tenant for being patient, and understanding about the work being done. The preparation for grand illumination went well, and we were able to make the park look really nice for the event. Okay. For the event, thanks to the entire Parks Department. The event itself seemed to be popular and well liked by those that came. Thank you to Nick for working a long day for the event. the various town employees that volunteered, and the owners of Hudson Valley Portuguese Barbecue for pouring drinks. The new playground at Godfrey Park has mostly been completed, other than one part that is on order. Thank you to all the installers at Miracle for working around the rain to get it installed. The park workers that have assisted in various tasks, and the community for helping finish the build and being patient with the rain and setbacks.
Did a great job on the lights, didn't it?
Very nice stuff, yeah.
down there. Cute. Next up, recreation. Councilman Gibbon, you want to read that one? Thank you.
Recreation, at the top of the month, we hosted our annual grand illumination event. Family and friends enjoyed warm drinks, roasted marshmallows, a visit from Santa, and watching park lights go up for the first time of the season. We want to thank our friends at the Hudson Valley Portuguese
Churrascara.
for serving delicious refreshments throughout the evening. Our hardworking staff and volunteers for putting on an amazing light display, an event, and everyone that donated for the Toys for Hope through the Pope toy drive for the Children's Hospital or Children's Home Poughkeepsie. This Friday, we will host our annual GTT winter party. Students K through 5 can enjoy their first day off winter break at Timor Park and join in the winter themed crafts and games with friends, fresh air, park, and more. Registration is open for the party and following days off for our Arlington School District winter break leading into New Year's. Parents, guardians can find more information at our Parks and Rec website. Our staff looks forward to hitting the ground running in the new year, and we'll keep residents up to date on information on summer camp, annual events, special programming through our website and social media pages.
Great, thank you very much. Councilman Welsh, would you like to read the constable's report?
Sure.
Thank you.
Constable report for November 2023. Constables patrolled approximately 584 miles of town roads, including all properties, filling the Explorer with 46.2 gallons of gasoline. The 3 town court dates totaled 27 cases on the dockets, with 14 actual appearances, and 6 defendants responded by mail or phone. There were no issues to report. Constables reported the following during patrols. On 11/17, they removed a deer from the roadway on Clove Road. Additional note, on 11/24, constables began nightly Bloomer Road holiday lights display traffic control detail. Respectfully submitted, George Treadwell, constable in charge.
Great, thank you, Councilman. Councilman Derlin, you want to go for Mary Jean Calvi's
Sure.
report? Thank you.
Animal control report for the month of November 2023. During the month of November, there were 2 dogs found. One was reunited with her owner. The other was brought to our shelter, and after the required waiting period will be placed up for adoption. There were no lost dogs and no dog complaints. Respectfully submitted, Mary Jean Calvi.
Excellent. Thank you so much. All right, for old business tonight, the Godfrey Park Playground, as Vinnie Germano said, who's submitting the park reports. Good night, Ed. The Godfrey Park, they're waiting for one cupola, and they're waiting to adjust the slide because it's off and there's a puddle of ice gathering at the bottom. So they're going to come back and adjust that when the cupola arrives. They had to go hand make a new cupola. And then that park will be finished, and then there'll have to be a ribbon cutting and a celebration, because that group of residents is very excited, and it looks great, but you can't. Everybody should.
Yeah.
You would drove by, it looks
Mhm.
nice.
Very
And there's room.
improvement.
There is a sunshade that's been ordered that hasn't come yet because they weren't going to put it in, which is nice. And there's room. There was specifically some space left open for future investments of toys or equipment as people might choose to have there. 11/2, we have a cell tower. As far as the update, as I mentioned earlier on, the cell tower is progressing forward, and we'll wait for the folks up in Albany to come out of their Christmas breaks. But we did want to make sure, in light of the fact that all of the revenue from the cell tower would be going to parks, we just never really specified Timor and Godfrey. So we just want to make sure that Godfrey doesn't feel left out. Way back when we all approved this resolution and the secret determination, and it was June 6, 2019. Paragraph 6 says, all such revenue being dedicated to the maintenance and improvement of the park and recreation facilities and programs. So Godfrey is included. Sometimes they say they feel like the stepchild. because they're way over on the other side of town. But any improvements, the cell tower revenue will go into a sub account, won't be put into the regular general account. So it will always be dedicated to those two parks. And the town board will choose wisely as to how to spend that money. That's a good thing and good for Godfrey, so they're never left out. Next up, we have parental leave. Now, we've discussed this at a board meeting. We discussed this at our work session. Basically, we've added a section to the employee handbook, which we're going to vote on tonight. I think we thought we voted on before, but I went back and checked and I think that we have two things tonight that we got off topic on in one of the meetings and we didn't finish. So this is called, this is for section 4.5.1 parental leave. Quote, full-time employees scheduled for 8 hours daily will be eligible for paid parental leave upon the birth or adoption of a child after having served at least 1 year in the town of Uniondale employment. Salaried employees will be paid 8 weeks straight salary, and hourly employees will be paid for their average scheduled hours over the most recent 12 to 24 month period. This benefit is intended to assist new parents with bonding and newly born or adopted infant child. Time may be taken in 1 hour increments, but use of paid parental leave expires after 12 weeks from the birth or adoption of the child, unquote. Now, we discussed this at a meeting, we discussed it at a work session. Does anybody have any other tweaks to that or anything that you'd recommend that we change about that?
I don't know.
Okay, we have one of our very important employees is expecting a baby in March, so we got to button this up.
Not you, I hope.
No, not me. Not me. My baby's in the back row. Say hello back there. So, may I have a motion that we approve section 4.4.5 titled parental leave as stated?
I'll make that motion.
There's a second.
I'll second that.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Say aye, Tim. None opposed. All right, parental leave is official finally. Thank you very much. All right, it's funny how we forgot that once. All right, two more things. The Hot Air Balloon Festival and the Gaelic Festivals have confirmed their dates, and we like to give them confirmation early so that they can advertise and not waste any of their money. So basically what the councilman, what you have in front of you are the numbers that my office does, which is to calculate how much we're going to charge them. We have regular rates for all the places. They're renting the whole park. One is for 3 days, one is for 1 day. We add the price of the constables. We add price for maintenance help. We add for how many fields, whatever we charge per field. We have a benefit markup for benefits. We add 35% to this rental rate for benefits for park staff and for constables. And then at the bottom, we actually add a 10% markup and round that up because we always find that, things happen and if there's a little extra to be taken care of, it's there. So we have both the GAAs, the Gaelic Athletic Association, they're interested in, same as this year, 9/28/24, which is the last Saturday of the month of September. And then the Balloon Fest, the Dutchess County Regional Chamber of Commerce Balloon Fest, Hot Air Balloon Festival would be 3 days from August 30th through September 1st. So those are their numbers in red at the bottom. One for 1 day would be $44,59.13 and $12,461.63 for 3 days. And they're both residents. So that's the other thing, they get a slight discount. So we look at these every year and this is the so basically we put in different numbers based on what they want to recommend and this templates does the numbers for us.
Good.
All right, does anybody have any questions about the dates or the dollar amounts or this is our standard rate for renting the large hall, the senior center, et cetera, et cetera. Any questions? All right, I have a motion to approve both those dates and both these events.
I'll make that motion to approve them.
Okay, I'll second it.
All right, all in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed, say no. All right, motion carries. They'll be locked in. They'll be thrilled to hear that. Thank you very much. Next up is for discussion. So this is an intermunicipal contract for shared services of the boards of assessment review. What you have in front of it, this is a resolution that I quickly put together using some other sources. The town of Washington has approached us, gentlemen. Now, we talked about this in September.
Yeah.
I didn't have the resolution ready in September and I've been busy, so I have it now. But we don't have to vote on it now. You can digest it a little bit, but the gist of it is this. As you recall, just for purposes of the minutes, the town of Washington has approached us and said that they probably have a small board of assessment review like we do. We have 3 members. They may have more, but if a person on the Board of Assessment Review, which is where the residents come to grieve their assessments of their properties, if someone on the Board of Assessment Review wants to grieve their own property, it's a little awkward and in front of two other people that you're serving on a board with. So what we decided would be a good thing, and Eric Axelson, our assessor, and Lisa Evangelista, their assessor, both agreed that it would be a good thing. It's kind of a no-brainer. It doesn't hurt. It's probably smart. Is if someone on our Board of Assessment Review or theirs wanted to grieve their own property, they would go to the opposite town.
Yeah,
So we would serve each other. And so some of the things in this shared service, it goes on for 5 years without having to be signed every 5 years. It can be extended for another 5 years. If somebody wants to get out, they can get out immediately. It's not a big deal. But it just shows, it takes care of the legalities, like there's no remuneration.
yeah, it's a good ethical approach to it.
Yeah, it's just got everything involved, that all the assurance and liability requirements are covered by the municipality for which they'd be working that day, that they're hearing this grievance, little things like that. Our municipal attorney, Jeff Battistoni, has been given a copy of this. He works also for the town of Washington, which is great. So he can act as liaison. And if you guys, what you can do is, since this has been sent to the town of Washington, I don't know if you're gonna have any comments. We can wait for them to comment, bring it back, and then both boards vote on it, and then it becomes official.
Do they have the same exact wording or they?
I sent them this document,
Okay,
exactly.
so they can adopt this as written if they want.
Oh, yeah, so can you.
Mhm.
So can we, I
Okay.
should say, but yeah, or
We tried to comment back and forth. I mean, it's
I think it's
really
kind of a
so
no-brainer.
simple, yeah, it's no brainer.
Yeah, it's straightforward.
We expected them to send something.
You can adopt it as is and then wait and see if they have any adjustments that you need to react to. Otherwise, if they just take it as is, it's done. You want to do
I
that?
would like to suggest we adopt it. Unless somebody here has a reason not to.
As a, unless there's comment from the town.
No, I know we reviewed it in September, so you're comfortable with it.
Yeah.
Like we said. But,
Yeah, it's not
It's such
new
a
ground.
It's a,
finite little
Yeah,
yeah,
thing. I mean, it's
but it
good
might be
that-
important to one Board of Assessment Review member.
Right.
So,
Mhm.
and you want people to volunteer.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
So, we don't want something like that to hold them back. All right, if you feel comfortable, may I have a motion to adopt the intermunicipal contract for shared services and boards of assessment review, please?
so moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
All right.
All right, well, that motion carries. We're not reading it as a resolution, but I think that's fine, given we've been through it before. And it will be put out there and we will receive comments. If you guys hear them in January or February, you'll deal with them then. Okay?
Mhm, sure.
Great. Okay, next up, new business. So the town received a $10,000 gift from Mr. Edward Sharkey. After he was deceased, it was sent from his estate. And one of his good friends, resident Isabel Morton, we had a meeting I met with Isabel, and Isabel said that in her understanding of what Ed Sharkey would want us to do with that money is to use it in a park related way. So, and she she volunteers. She's a wonderful volunteer all over the place. She helps take care of the Burbank Church and the parsonage and all that over there.
Mhm.
So she's familiar with Godfrey. And one of the things that they still need over there that wasn't in the money that we're spending, we're spending about 60 grand on the playground and the county has given us the mid grant for 100.
Yeah,
But it didn't include one of the most popular things over there, which is the basketball court.
Mhm.
So while a brand new court where you get rid of all that old asphalt and put in a new one could be $100,000, to resurface it as is and have a person come in, like a tennis court repair person, they could, take care of all the cracks.
yeah, they did a
Level
good job on that.
Yeah, the tennis court guys were excellent. They said they would come look at it this spring. And then paint new lines on it.
Mhm.
And then put up two new backboards and give those guys a new basketball court. And since that's the most popular thing right now. Over there, Isabel said she'd be really comfortable and she knew that he'd appreciate if that $10,000 could be moved towards that. Upgrade. Now, it could be done. It may end up, I don't know the cost yet because this gentleman's gonna come. We sent him pictures. He's got the dimensions and he's gonna come in the spring. He wants to see what it looks like after the winter.
Mhm.
And then he'll give the town a quote and then you can react to it. But at least if we target Ed Sharkey's money towards that basketball court and go from there, we can make decisions. I think there's money in the budget for 2 hoops. Typically, there's enough money for a little upgrade like that. But then you can go from there and figure out what it's gonna be when this fellow Victor gets you in the.
Mhm.
All right. So if you feel comfortable with that, I know the people in Godfrey on the green, would be happy to know that they might have that coming their way. if somebody could make a motion to accept that gift, Mr. Sharkey, for those purposes, that would be great.
Knowing him as I did, I think would be great if we did that, and I would like to make the motion.
Great, I wonder. All right. All right, I'll second that motion. So again, it could be the whole cost, it might be a down payment that would be a substantial down payment, but we'll deal with it.
Yeah, at least all of that money will go for that purpose.
Yeah, exactly. All right, there's a motion and a second on the floor. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any
Aye.
opposed, say no. No opposed, okay, motion carries. Thank you, Mr. Sharkey.
Wish you were still here to thank him.
Yeah, they'll be thrilled over there. I think she said he'd be really happy. All right, motions, we have resolutions and motions. All right, first on our list is filling a vacancy on the town board. And I would like to say before we go there that we had interviews on Sunday. And we interviewed 9 people. There was a 10th interested, but that person had a family emergency. So we had really terrific turnout from some lovely people also that we were also scouting for a lot of other positions in the town too, because we need volunteers. On almost every board, we need some volunteers. And actually we did get somebody in that group that is interested in one of the other boards. So that's a good thing.
Mhm.
So anyway, with that being said, I think we need a nomination from the floor to take us to the next.
Okay, I'll make that nomination. Like Betsy said, it was amazing meeting so many residents, over the weekend and seeing what kind of passion that they all bring, to the town, potentially to the board and also, like she was saying, to maybe some other boards. So, I think we've all thought about it long and hard. And for me personally, I'd like to nominate Pat Bartolome to fill that meeting. He, one of the things we really look for is somebody that can hit the ground day one, boots on the ground, somebody that's really been involved with so many of us for a number of years. I've known Pat for over 10 years in just town capacity. I was the chairman of the planning board. He's currently chairman of the planning board. If you're familiar with the planning board, it's one of the hardest positions to be in, the chair and even on the planning board itself. I feel like that experience, excessive working with the town. I mean, he was really pivotal on the town center rezoning that we just went through. So I think, with that, I think he can bring some experience, some energy, and some skill to the town board. And, with that, I'd like to nominate.
Okay.
I would second that because I have worked with him. I know he's been on the planning board, I think at least 8 years. He's very well versed in our code, which is very critical for anybody on the planning board or town board. It would serve us well to have somebody with that experience, so on that basis.
Yeah, I think that I worked with Pat long and hard during those 10 months. And the thing about the town board is that some of the best places to get a town board member are from the planning board and zoning board because they know so much about the town code and they hit the ground running. There's business experience, there's other experiences that are great, but he does stand out with that. I mean, he runs the meetings very well. He's extremely knowledgeable. I think that I know that even our Steve Frazier was appointed to the town board from the planning board. It does happen. And I think that in his particular case, he's just a sharp guy who knows all the things that we're faced with. He works well with the attorney over there. He works well with George Kolb already, and he knows George very well from George serving as code enforcement officer, zoning administrator, et cetera, et cetera. And as impressive as everybody was for different reasons, this guy knows it now. And what's important for the residents to understand is he knows it today. And when you're a town board picking somebody, you tend to go towards more experienced people because that's what we're looking for. There's an election in November. And then there's another election. This poor person has to run next November and the November after that, if they still want to stick with it. But the election is coming for everybody to chime in November. So I would say that that's a good nomination. We have a nomination in a second. Any other discussion?
I motion let the table this, because we had interviews on Sunday. Since Sunday, there's been no discussion amongst the board about people we interviewed. This person that had ran in the election He got about 8% of the vote, so clearly the residents of Unionville would like to have somebody else on the board. That election just happened, 45 days ago. And the residents have spoken. So I believe this should be tabled until, we can do further discussion.
No, I disagree. And also I think that the number of votes that people get is different from a board appointment, as we know, right? It's happened, I mean, it happens in New York State, it happens in Congress, the number of votes are not really that relevant. As we were talking, one of the residents and I were talking about it, happened in the vice president of the United States used to be the second runner-up, used to be the runner-up to the, who got the most votes in the presidential election. That didn't work out very well, did it? They decided to go, along party lines. Remember that back when the vice presidents were number two? The second vote getter. So
Yeah.
things are a little bit different, but I think that,
Well, this is just an interim appointment that
yeah,
whoever is either appointed or is interested can run in November. So this is not someone gonna be here for a long time. It's an interim.
I have to say it's the opposite of what the residents would like to see on the board. And I've gotten, probably 7, 8, 9 emails, and they all been asking us to table.
I know.
this appointment.
we got those emails too.
One email that is telling us this is a good idea. We should rush into it. There's no reason, need to rush. We have a forum amongst the board right now. The seat was vacated 2 weeks ago.
Well, I disagree, and I think we need to get it done, and I think Pat's a good choice because he's the most qualified with the town code currently. And we have other places where some of these other folks can run, and these are, in effect, they're political appointments. They're just done quickly, and then there's an election that follows up. It's pretty standard operating procedure. Some places don't even wait an hour. So I think that we've done a good job. I happen to know that when Steve Frazier was appointed from the planning board, there was nobody interviewed. And the chair, no, that's not false.
That's false.
That's not false.
It is false.
And we know where that we know where we know that the recommendation came from the chair of the committee, and there was not one Democrat in the bunch that was interviewed. We know that. We don't do it that way anymore. So I think we do kind of, we threw a broad net. So we have a motion, we have a second on the floor. All those in
And
favor
there's
of
no
that?
discussion between Sunday and today. So,
We didn't discuss it either. We just happened to have what's your personal
but
view?
I have a hat, yes.
All right, there's a motion, there's a second. All those in favor of Pat Cardellani becoming the next member of the town board, say aye. Aye. All those opposed?
Nay.
Motion carries 3-1. Okay, thank you very much for that conversation. And next up, we have encumbering funds, resolution number 35 of 2023. This is encumbering funds for unpaid commitments from 2023. Do you want to read that one, Councilman?
Sure. Covering funds for unpaid commitments from 2023. Whereas the town board of the town of Unionville authorized the Unionville Public Library in July of 2022, and whereas 50% of the expected annual operating budget was included in the 2023 budget, and whereas the Unionville Library trustees have been outfitting the Senior Citizen Center with collections of books and DVDs to build a base for the public to utilize so the chartering process can move forward, and whereas the encumbering of unused 2023 funds to pay for the additional commitments made for furniture, systems upgrades for Libby and the barcoding of books, as well as equipment for audio visual presentations, which will complete the new programming needs, will alleviate pressure on the 2024 library budget. Now therefore be it resolved that the town of Unionville 2024 budget shall be amended to provide for encumbrances rolled forward in order to provide for the funding of the aforementioned projects. Fund A 7410, encumber 93,000 current balance. Be it further resolved that the amount of these combined encumbrances provided for the above will be enumerated by invoice for each specific project. If the actual amount of the total expenditures are lower than the encumbrance, the unspent amount will be returned to the fund balance for 2024.
Thank you for offering that resolution. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Any discussion? Any questions? Hearing none, I'd ask for a roll call vote.
Councilman Derland,
Aye.
Councilman McGivney,
No.
Councilman Welsh,
Aye.
Supervisor Miles.
Aye. Okay, resolution 35 of 2023 passes. Next up, resolution 36 of 2023. Councilman.
Got it.
You got it? Okay.
I'll take
thank
it.
you, sir.
Resolution number 36 of 2023, resolution confirming source of funds for library lease and renovation of premises. Whereas the town of Unionville as landlord executed a lease with the Unionville Public Library for the lease of space at 8 Timemore Park Road for library purposes, and whereas said lease requires the town of Unionville to perform the renovation of the leased premises and to pay for the cost and expense of that renovation. And whereas a not-for-profit corporation was formed known as the Unionville Library Fund, Inc., which has been duly recognized by the IRS as an exempt organization for income tax purposes, often referred to as a 501c3 organization. And said corporation intends to raise funds and pay for the lease costs and renovation costs described in said lease. Now therefore be it resolved that the town board hereby confirms that the source of funds for the lease costs and the renovation costs described in said lease will be funds obtained from the Unionville Library Fund, Inc., and that there is no intent to pay for such costs from the general revenue or fund balance of the town.
All right, thank you for offering that resolution. Is there a second?
I will second.
Any discussion? I think it's important that this is made clear because I think from some of the things we've seen and heard, it's not clear to people, even something that Jean Moore said earlier. So it's just not clear where those source of funds are expected to come from, which the renovation is coming from the Unionville Library Fund, not from the town. Any other discussion? Any other questions? Not from taxpayers, is what I mean. All right, roll call vote, please.
Councilman Derland,
Aye.
Councilman McGivney,
No.
Councilman Welsh,
Aye.
Supervisor Miles.
Aye. Okay, resolution 36 of 2023 passes. Next up is the security camera upgrades. This is the Blue Dragon connection. This again was done in one of our meetings when we were going through the security upgrade.
Yeah, I know we meant to do it, but
We meant to do it and I think it just slipped by. I apologize. Basically, we had discussed this company and everybody liked them because they're on the state bid. And we got 3 quotes. One from this company is the second company that you have on your second sheet. And then we had reviewed the company that we're using for the new security system, but the company that we're using for the new security system included a 2,100 and some 2,100 plus, let's say 2,200 rounding up, of annual fee. And this company, there is no recurring costs. There's just the cost of the infrastructure. And they're not
That's
going to charge us
Yeah.
that annual fee because we own everything.
Mhm.
All right, so it's important, the difference, and we all like them. We talked about them that night, and I don't know.
and they're low.
And they're local, it's a local company and they're on state bid. They hit all the buttons.
Mhm.
But we didn't, for some reason, make a move to complete that adoption. So what I'd like to do tonight is get this taken care of because they were wondering, they thought we had approved them. They may have even ordered the material, the equipment, but I went back and confirmed we hadn't. So we do need to do this. So I'd like a motion to approve, unless you have any questions, which we can discuss in discussion. Can I have a motion to approve the Blue Dragon Connections quote and it's here with their references on the back, which you guys got in September.
Yeah,
Remember?
yep,
Okay.
oh yeah,
If you're familiar with it, can I have a motion to adopt this, please?
I'll make that motion.
All right, at the prices listed, the prices haven't changed. I did call them.
$8,900 for the town hall cameras, Parks and Recreation, $4,558, $4,558. Highway Department, location, $2,572.
Perfect, 16,030, a little less than the security companies with no recurring costs.
Mhm.
Second, is there a second?
I'll second that.
All right, any other discussion? Any other questions? You guys remember this from before? All those in favor of the Blue Dragon Connection security cameras quote and purchase, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, say no. All right, motion carries. We'll take care of this tomorrow. I think it's been ordered. It'll get done in January. I promise. He promises us that. Okay, next up is approving budget adjustments, summary of bank transfers, that sort of thing. So far in the contingent account, we have, remember, we bought the AEDs. We paid for, oh, here, okay, sorry, Councilman, here you go. Oh, okay. We paid for the automatic defibrillators. Because we found out ours were dead and we couldn't replace them, so we had, that's perfect use of a contingent account. We paid for the increase in the NYMER liability insurance premiums, which we weren't aware were coming. We paid for cyber insurance, which we were told we had to get separately this year, and we paid, there was a $45 extra charge for marine, inland marine, the sander that we purchased. So that was not a purchase, that was the sander that we, no, it was the one that we purchased.
Yeah, Ed got that at the bar.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, you got that at a really good price. And then, in addition to that, when you go through the budget summary that I gave you with the red and the green and all that on it,
Mhm.
what you see on that is the transfers, they go from one account to the other account to make them whole, make them even. Like we do every year, we move from the engineer to the attorney account, we spend more on legal fees than we do on engineers. It's this one.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
One? Okay, yeah,
Yeah.
okay. And then on the bottom are the budget adjustments, budget amendments. So we changed the fund, we moved money from fund balance, or we recognize a revenue increase. So for example, on the D line, we recognize the CHIPS money that we just received on the third one from the bottom. And then we moved part of the CHIPS money to cover the permanent improvements CHIPS that was over 540,000 waiting for the CHIPS money. So that way we're tracking this, each account this money comes and goes to. All right, we had $609 in chargebacks. It was over, what the county charged us to print the tax bill was over by $609. So we take from A 1090, the interest and penalties on real property tax. We pull it from an account that's similar and move it over to cover it. So these are all of the budget transfers and budget amendments for 2023. Now, there may be one or two in January when the bills get paid and other things come in.
Mhm.
But this is the normal list we go through every December. So that it looks whole and will still be. I mean, our net income is in excess of 700,000 now, but we do expect some bigger bills and this makes everything flat by switching from one to the other. We also moved that insurance money for the salt shed. We got for the salt shed, that was moved into capital projects
Okay.
because when that salt shed grant, hopefully it comes through, but whether or not it comes through, you're gonna have to look at what you're gonna do with the salt shed.
Yeah.
So that money, the insurance money, we paid, the construction, remember the guys that put up the back, remember they put up those wires and they.
Yeah.
Okay, they fixed it on a temporary basis. That money paid for them, and then the rest, the balance goes into capital projects, waiting for the salt shed grant. With fingers crossed. So that's the only movement of money we've done. Okay, so that's the summary for this year for this, and if more come up at the end of this month, I can give you a follow-up item then. If any
Okay.
other changes come in,
Mhm.
bills that we weren't expecting, which we're gonna get some through, March, but so far this will make us even through December 20th. All right?
Okay.
So I need a motion to approve the budget transfers
I'll make that motion.
and,
I'll second that.
okay, all in favor, say aye.
All right.
Aye. Any opposed? None. Hearing none, we will accept the budget transfers and amendments for the year and get these taken care of tomorrow. And that's really it. I'm just want to, finish up. We're not having closing, comments on the town issues because, you can start that again in January. I just want to, thank everybody for the opportunity to be, the town supervisor. We had a wonderful time. I think the residents are just lovely people. You get wonderful emails. They come by your house. Sometimes people drive in and knock on the door that want to talk to you. And the residents, it's been wonderful getting to know all the residents because we have a lot of minutes. We have a wonderful group of residents who are never come to town board meetings and you don't hear much from, but they're there and they're wonderful people. And we know them and we talk to them regularly. So the residents are fabulous. The people in this building, the staffers in town hall and the parks, we have the most wonderful staff in parks and in town hall and the highway department. They are, they're just all
And
completely devoted and recycling. But except for recycling, because they don't live in Unionville, but we love them anyway.
Yeah.
But those all, not everybody here, but they're regular 8-hour. We see them all the time. The highway guys are great. They're very devoted. I think we're very lucky with the group that we have. But tonight I want to say something special, and I have to thank somebody whose name is John Welsh. who, I know you hate getting recognized, but I have to thank John, who's been the deputy supervisor, I think, longer than any deputy supervisor. They used to do it quarterly. John has been the deputy supervisor for 6 years. He is a wonderful confidant. He is a wonderful advice giver. He is my morning telephone companion for 6 years straight, Monday through Friday. We have been, I'm going to miss you, John. But he is just a wonderful, wonderful person as a deputy town supervisor. I can't thank you enough for always being available. He's retired, so he could run over in the middle of the day when all these guys are working so hard and help out. And we did a lot of work.
Mhm.
We did a lot of work on the cell towers in those two lawsuits. We did a lot of work on annexation, which we ended up losing, but the judges gave us a very nice path should we get taxed by Beekman again. They were terrific. We've done a lot of work on all these big projects together, the workers' comp, everything. And I just can't thank you enough.
Oh.
You're a wonderful
My
person.
pleasure.
You did everything you could tell me.
Just like to do what I can for the town.
You do. You're never a crossword and never a no. So thank you, John, for everything. And thank you, guys. Thank you for all your hard work.
Yeah, thank you.
And thank all of you for coming tonight. We have a motion to adjourn.
So.
All right, I'll second that. Thank you, everybody. Happy Christmas.
Thanks, that's very nice.
You're so funny. You don't take, you're always running out the door, so you have to sit tight because I have something for you. Okay?
All right.